Thunder! Thunder! Thunder!
What are you looking at, nerd? Huh?
Nerds! Nerds! Nerds!
Get him.
Welcome to Thunder Nerds. I'm Brian Hinton.
And I'm Frederick Philip von Weiss, and thank you so much for consuming the Thunder Nerds, a conversation with the people behind the technology, I think he's over there, that love what they do.
And do tech
Good. Ah! Thanks, everyone, for watching the show again. And if you have questions, please ask them, and we will answer them in the order they are received. And also, if you can, please go to the YouTubes. Go to youtube.com/ThunderNerds. Subscribe, hit the notification bell to get 7 years of good luck. Brian Hinton.
That's 7 years. I like that. I'd like to thank Auth0 for returning as this season's sponsor. They make it easy for developers to build a custom, secure, and standards-based unified login by providing authentication and authorization as a service. To try it out, go to auth0.com. Also, check out Auth0 on both YouTube and Twitch under username Auth0. They have some great developer resources and streams. And of course, Avocado Labs is an online destination that their developer advocates run, where they organize some great meetup events. Again, thank you, Auth0, and check out auth0.com today.
Yes, thank you so much, Auth0 and Brian. Thank you. So let's go ahead and get to our guest without any other further ados. Brian, we have software engineer educator Kent C. Dodds. Kent, welcome to the show.
Welcome.
Thank you. I'm super happy to be here.
We're super happy to have you, Kent. How are things going for you? How you been? What's up? What's new for you, Kent?
Well, what's new? It's actually mostly I'm working kind of behind the scenes on some stuff. I've been, I write a blog post every week, and I do like kind of my regular stuff. I have a 3-minute podcast and stuff that I keep up with, but nothing big and exciting yet. I'm working behind the scenes on that sort of thing. My biggest exciting thing was Epic React, and that took a lot out of me. So it's, just kind of chilling, hanging out with the family a lot.
Nice. And just to say hello to everybody that's saying hi. Thanks everybody for watching. And apparently you also really love the Thundercats reference. So.
Yes, I do.
I like that.
I didn't grow up with Thundercats or anything, but my my roommate in college just thought they were the best, and so I definitely caught that reference.
I always loved Thundercats, and what's the other one? The Silverhawks or
Silverhawks? Yeah.
Silverhawks.
Love the book.
Another great one.
Yeah, that enemy, the weird squid guy, super cool. Loved it. Speaking of weird squid people, Kent, let's talk about what's going on with currently the COVIDs. How has that affected you? And obviously, we have some corner turning that we may be approaching soon with vaccines being distributed to everyone. How has this affected you and your professional life, and how's the outcome going forward look to you?
So 2020 was the year of like pain and suffering, and 2021 is the year of hope. I was working remote and everything already. Lots of my workshops were remote, and so I don't think I was impacted as much by COVID as lots of people. But I certainly was. My kids started doing school at home, and so my wife had to take care of them, and I needed to take care of the younger kids who weren't in school. And it was definitely tricky. But I wasn't hit as hard as some people where they're single parents, or they both of the parents need to work, and so you need to figure out different things. So I was really lucky in that way that it didn't impact me as much as some of my friends and family. So like as far as this year, I'm totally excited about vaccines becoming available. I'd say I'm cautiously optimistic about the future here.
It's good to be cautious. Who knows what happens? I mean, I think there was some stuff written about the vaccine in South Africa that with the blood clots, etc., things like that. But it looks like we're doing pretty good with the 3 vaccines that we do have available in the States. So let's all cross our fingers and toes, and hopefully that will get distributed soon.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, it's really hard to know what to believe, right? Because you hear stuff like that and you're like, I mean, how many cases are there? Like, who's financing this report, right? It all comes down to where's the money coming from? That's where the incentives are as far as business is concerned. And so you don't know what to trust online because you hear such a wide variety of reports on different things.
So you talked about that. You have kids. You have 3 children, if I'm correct.
Four.
Yeah,
4 children?
Yeah.
Wow, Kent. Okay, let me. I ABC you everywhere, but let me. And then I'm sure you alphabet get this all the time. But where do you find the time? Where? How do you do what you do? You put out a lot of content. You have 4 children. I have 1 child, and I can't find the time to do what you do. Could you explain?
Clone in the closet behind him.
Is that what it is, Kent? Do you have a clone? Could you confirm that?
No. Yeah.
Rumors aren't true.
Like, first, I'll just say that having 1 child is a lot of work. So it's sometimes I feel kind of weird when people compare, because I am child number 11 of 12 in my family.
Wow, that's impressive. Awesome.
Yeah. So I'm like, 4 is like whatever, you know. But I don't know. My wife is a full-time mom, and she has been since we started having kids, and so of course that helps an enormous amount. I don't know. I focus my effort on, like, when I'm working, and when I'm with my family, I'm with my family, and I feel like I do a pretty okay job. And I do have a blog post called "How I'm So Productive" that I wrote back when I did have a full-time job. Because now I'm full-time educator. I work for myself. I do whatever I want, and whatever I want happens to be like very public. And so you see all of the things that I do. But when I was at PayPal, a lot of people were like, "How do you do all this stuff and have a full-time job?" And so I have that blog post that people can go take a look at, because it is maybe a little more relatable to people than I am right now, being self-employed.
We have one of the comments here. I don't have children, and I can't do what Kent did. So maybe we could take it away from the whole thing about you having 4 children and talk about how you actually do what you do. Where did you get the inspiration to be an educator? One, why are you in this industry? Where does the passion come from? And we'll start there.
Yeah, sure. So I've always been a teacher. I am a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And when, like, all the way back to when I was a kid, we spoke in church. It was just like an expected thing that you did every few months or so. And so getting up in front of people was something that I became comfortable doing at a very young age. And it was just a very natural thing for me when I started learning how to write software to get up and teach what I'm learning. I volunteered to be a tutor and help people in our classes, and I hosted a mini workshop that I put together for my classmates. It just was something that I enjoyed, and I've come to learn also that it's a great way to solidify what you're trying to learn, and so it's kind of a great mechanism for learning and getting really good at whatever it is you're trying to get good at.
Yeah, the learn, teach, code kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. And I spend a lot of time thinking about, like, as I'm learning a new thing, I don't just gloss over the things where, like, I hack something together and then, oh, it works, let's move on. That's not what I do. And this is why I'm really bad at, like, hack night projects and stuff, because I can never finish. I have to understand exactly what's going on and why things are working or not working. And it's the teacher side of me, because I'm always thinking, if somebody were to come to a workshop that I was giving teaching about this, they would ask me why, and I wouldn't be able to answer them. And I need to be able to answer them. So yeah, I don't know. That's kind of where things come in. And when I started getting money for this, like it started like paying my mortgage and stuff, then it was like, oh wow, I can take this thing that I enjoy on the side, and I can like build up this passive income stream and pay my mortgage, and that was pretty cool.
That makes me
Yeah.
that makes me think of too that you have this. I don't see this very often, but I see that you have this transparency page on your website that communicates exactly if somebody is going to contribute, what that means, where the money goes. Where did that idea come from? I love that idea. I think more people should have something along those lines. Do you mind elaborating on where the Phil Collins, the Genesis came for that?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, so it was a few weeks ago actually. This page is pretty new, and Clubhouse was getting really popular, and people were excited about it. And I was just kind of concerned because I had no idea where they made their money. And I've over the last few years, I've just started to realize that like money is where businesses get their incentives. And so if you understand where the money's coming from, then you have a much clearer picture of the angle that they're coming from. So like, for example, if there's a news article that is very like talking very antagonistically about renewable energy, and then you find out that it's funded by big oil, then okay, that makes sense. Maybe I should research this a little deeper and see like where their stats are coming from. So yeah, the money, you got to follow the money to get a sense of where, like whether they're going to sell the user's data in the future and stuff. So anyway, lots of companies don't tell you where their money comes from, or like we know where their money comes from, and it's the reason that lots of the incentives are screwed up. Like Twitter, Facebook, and Google are really great examples of this. And so as Clubhouse was getting popular, I was just tweeting about how I think, hey, like I'm just a little bit concerned about where like whether Clubhouse is going to do right by its users when it starts to actually need to make money. And I said, I think every company should create a page that says where their money comes from. And if they don't know yet, like they're just getting started, then they should say, like, make it stand on whether they're ever going to sell their users' data and stuff like that. So like some of the things they will do and they won't do, sort of thing. And then I realized, wait a second, I have a company. So I was like, well, I guess I should do that myself. And so that's where the transparency page came from. And actually, I have removed some sources of income because they didn't align well with my mission. For example, I took YouTube ads off of my YouTube channel because my mission is not pushed any further forward by showing people ads before my videos. That's not where I'm making my money, right? Like there are plenty of YouTube creators, they're making money on YouTube. That's their thing. My YouTube stuff is like 3-hour live streams of me just like coding and stuff, or I have weekly office hours and they're recordings of that. So that I guess is sort of kind of useful, but that's not where I'm going to get my money. That's where I go to say, hey, like I'm creating content. You can trust me. I'm a creator. And if you want to, get more of this and higher quality and whatever, then you can go to my courses and stuff. So that's anyway. The transparency page kind of helped me focus a little bit more on my primary mission as a company, which has been a really positive thing. I'm really glad about this transparency page, and I hope that we get a lot more companies doing this sort of thing.
Yeah, definitely. I love that. It should just be something that it's kind of like privacy. Like we're so concerned about privacy, but like same thing we should be concerned about. What governments get their money and even in some sense where they spend their money.
Mm-hmm.
I loved going back to what you said earlier about how you like to dive deep into what you're working on. I can always tell. I'm like, oh, he's working on something because like all the TypeScript posts right now, I'm like, he's totally going to be writing something or updating something in Epic React or he's doing something TypeScript right now. So I'm just curious, what are you working on now with TypeScript? Because I assume you're about to do something with it.
Yeah. So that actually kind of goes back to the productivity question where people say, wow, he just does so much stuff.
Yeah.
I guess so, but I think we all do a lot of stuff. I'm just extremely public about it. There are very few things that I do not share with the world of what I'm doing. from a business standpoint. And so, yeah, like you see me talking about Remix and TypeScript is because I'm using those tools right now. And they're just like constantly on my mind. And so, yes, I am working on a TypeScript thing right now. I'm in I've been using TypeScript for 3 years, but I've been kind of more on the abstraction side, which is different kind of TypeScript than building application side. And I want to get into teaching people how to write TypeScript to build applications. And so I've been doing a lot of that as practice to prepare for a series of workshops, or maybe just 1 or 2 workshops on TypeScript. And the big reason for that is because I'm going to revamp testingjavascript.com and epicreact.dev to be 100% TypeScript. And I know a lot of people are like, oh no, don't do that. Well, I shouldn't say a lot. If you are that person, you're in a very small niche of the JavaScript world. Most people are way into TypeScript. So anyway, there are a lot of people or a fair amount of people who don't want to do TypeScript, or they're new to TypeScript. And so I want to have this, a TypeScript course that I can say, hey, go take that if you haven't had much experience, or you want to just freshen up, and then you can go through the rest of the stuff. So yes, there is a TypeScript thing coming, a lot of TypeScript things coming your way from me.
Yeah. It's I just love seeing how much you share. I wish more people were as open, because you've basically built. Well, actually, let's just get into that. The kind of topic that I want to talk about in this episode is a community and building a community. So your openness, I think, has been like a big catalyst for that. And I've noticed that you're literally everywhere, Kent. Like
I'm not in Clubhouse. I don't have an iOS device. So
maybe next week.
The other day we used Crossy and V at work, and I was
Sweet.
like, I just happened to go to the NPM page to look something up. I was like, wait, Kent, what the heck? I feel like I think if I were to look at our packages, at least all of them might have your name somewhere in there. But anyway, how did we talked about you getting into teaching, but how did the community aspect really start? Where, like your Discord, for instance, I know has 10,000 plus active users. Where did that all begin?
Yeah. So when I created testingjavascript.com, there wasn't really a great place for learners to learn together and or to talk with each other about what they're learning or support each other. And so I ended up fielding a lot of questions on Twitter and realized that, hey, maybe if I create a space for people to talk with each other, they'll be able to help each other. Because I can only scale so much. This is why I create the online courses, because when I do it as workshops, I can't scale very well. It's very expensive, and so it's not very accessible. And so I can make it a recorded workshop, and now it doesn't take my time, and so I can drastically reduce the price. But you lose that side of being able to like learn with other people and have access to the instructor. So I make up with the access to the instructor by doing my office hours every week, and anybody can just come and ask me questions. But then I also have the community where people can go and talk with each other and help each other out. So I started with actually Spectrum, spectrum.chat, and that worked out okay-ish. But as I was ramping up Epic React, I just thought, I feel like we're missing something here. And I knew that Reactjs had moved over to Discord. They've been there for a while. I wasn't really involved, but I decided, I'm just going to try it. And I created a Discord in like an hour, made the images and whatever, and set up the roles and stuff. But I think it was before I opened it up, or no, it was after. I really wanted to make sure that people who joined the Discord would read the code of conduct. So that was a very important thing to me. If I'm going to be in charge of this, I am going to make sure that it's a safe space for people. And so I created a bot that would not let you in until you read the code of conduct. And it's okay to be able to enforce a code of conduct by like banning people from the server and stuff. But I also wanted to get email addresses and stuff as well. not only for like managing the code of conduct and stuff, but also like, this is my community. I'm offering this service, and I think that it's okay for me to ask for your email address so I can let you know when I'm doing stuff. And so the bot is responsible for just onboarding, asking their name and getting their email, making sure that they read the code of conduct. In fact, it says, "Do you accept the code of conduct? Here it is." And they of course say yes. And then it asks, okay, so because you read the code of conduct, you must know what email address we send, violation notices to. And like, oh shoot, I guess I need to open the code of conduct to find out. And so yeah, I forced them to open the code of conduct at least, and they go through that. So because of that friction that I've added to joining the community, it's a very high quality community of people who are actually active. We don't have any drive-bys, and you'd be surprised the number of people who joined a Discord and then realized that they created a new account instead of logging into their existing one. And so we have none of those because people realize that, and then they sign into their right account and then they join. And so it's actually a very high quality.
I did that.
Community. Oh, did that happen to you?
Oh yeah, I totally accidentally created an account and had to fix it.
Yeah, I did the same thing in another community, and so now there's this nebulous account just hanging out in some community somewhere. So yeah, we don't have any of those, and so that is like when we say that we have 10,000 members, that's high activity actual people who participate in the community. So it's a really awesome place. I love it there.
Yeah, and you open source the bot too, so that others can use it.
I know of at least 2 other communities that are using the bot. They like forked it and did their own thing with it.
I love that.
Yeah, and I mean, kind of piling on to the whole like being efficient with your time, like the learning groups too. That's an incredible concept. Could you tell us a little bit about the learning groups?
Yeah, so when I did
clubs, sorry,
yeah, as I was creating Epic React, I was going to go and just record all the workshops because I'd given them so many times. I was ready to just pull the trigger and go, but I decided I just want to do one more time. We'll just make sure that everything flows nicely and everything. And so I scheduled 8 workshops, and I opened it up where people could just buy a ticket to all of them. And so then over the course of 2 months, they'd go through all of these workshops. That's a very fast pace. People don't normally go through Epic React that fast. Yeah, so what I found in that process was that the people and there were like 30 people who went through all of it. It went really well for them being able to get to know the other people who are learning. And I didn't want to lose that by going to recorded. And on top of that, when I do live, I also do breakout rooms where you're in a group of like 3 or 4 other developers working through the exercises together. And I didn't want to lose that either. And so I wanted to have some way to say, hey, basically Epic React is supposed to be all of the good parts of workshops with none of the bad parts, and all the good parts of a recorded course with none of those bad parts. So it's like the best of both worlds. And the problem with going recorded is now you lose access to the instructor and you lose access to other learners. And so learning clubs is supposed to give you access to to other people to learn and bounce ideas off of. And then my office hours gives people access to me to ask questions in a live setting. And so what a learning club is basically my bot facilitates getting a group of people who want to go through the material together. And it doesn't have to be any of my material too. Like we've had people going through like some Rust course and a Vim course and a bunch of others. But the idea is you have this curriculum you want to go through. There's a specific schedule, and then you use the bot to let everybody know that this is a thing that's happening. People sign up on your form that you create, and then you create a little Discord DM, or lots of people will just make an entirely different server and go through the curriculum together. It's been really successful. We've had I don't know, maybe like 24 learning clubs that people have started for various. Most of them is my content, but yeah, for various things. And there's always like the really excited. Everybody starts off really excited at the beginning, and then it kind of tapers off, and there are maybe 4 or 5 people left. But even if it's just 2, that is the success, because the accountability that you get by going through curriculum together. Like, I can't tell you how many books and courses that I've bought that I haven't gone through at all because I just have no accountability. And having a group of people that I feel accountable to make me more likely to go through it, and I'll just get more out of it. So it's been really successful.
That's community. If you have a bunch of people together and everybody's learning together and you're talking about the same things, like whether that's a conference where we used to go to, or a book club, or what have you, a mastermind, like when you have that kind of pseudo accountability where we all want to learn that same thing, you just get so much out of it.
Absolutely. Yep. So yeah, it's been fun.
One thing I'm curious about as someone who's an educator, how do you decide what you're going to actually create? Like, what's your, like, how do you get the vibe of the feel of the room, so to speak?
Yeah,
I think I know the answer to this.
Well, maybe. A lot of people will do like a Twitter poll, like, what do you want me to teach and stuff. I've done that in the past. I found that I'm much more successful if I just teach whatever I'm hyped about and excited about at the moment. So there's always, unless I decide to go into some like very niche topic of something, there's always going to be a market for whatever I'm excited about. And I'm always way better equipped to teach the things that I'm excited about. This is why I haven't actually taken the time to create a TypeScript course until now, is because I haven't been super psyched about TypeScript for the years that I've been using it. And so now I am using it a lot, and I'm getting excited about it, and it's just become naturally interesting to me. And so that's why that's the next thing for me. Yeah, I think that
Speaking of which, we got a comment about that.
Yeah. yeah. It definitely is. I like those sort of comments. They're really validating to me, because like I'm in this box by myself all day, and of course I have the community. Yeah,
they keep you there. Yes.
Yeah. And so when I hear people outside of this box that say that what I've created has been helpful to them, it is just really validating. So I appreciate comments like that. Thank you.
Yeah, I've definitely loved and shared the beginner React one. I've used it. A lot of people have joined my team. Some of them are newer to React, and that the one on Egghead, the beginner's guide to React. It's excellent because it actually goes into something that I feel like a lot of React documentation and lessons just don't. That React is JavaScript. JavaScript is React, and I appreciate that you did that. So high five to you.
Yeah, that's my approach for teaching things in general, if I can help it. And actually, React Testing Library kind of came out of that method of teaching. So what I like to do is, if we have time for it, I want to take the the subject that we're trying to learn, an abstraction, and remove the abstraction for a second and do what the abstraction is doing in a small way. So what you're talking about, Brian, there is at the very first lesson of Epic React, we don't actually even touch React. Epic React too, but Beginner's Guide to React. We don't touch React. We just pull up an index HTML file and we write some JavaScript to create a DOM node and stuff. And so I feel like people are able to draw lines around abstractions a lot better if they understand, at least at a basic level, what that abstraction is responsible for. So when I was getting into teaching testing libraries, and Enzyme was the thing at the time, I wanted to say, okay, so let's take React DOM and we'll render this to this div that we have to create ourselves, and all of that. But the jump from what you could do with just React DOM.render and Enzyme was just enormous, because there were so many utilities that Enzyme offers, and then you have to choose between mount and render and shallow and like all of those things, and that bothered me a little bit. And so I was looking at the exercise where let's just do it with React DOM, and I said, you know what, that test is actually not that bad. And I compared that to the test I had to write with Enzyme. I was like, there are so many concepts in here I don't want to even. Like, not only I don't want to have to deal with, but there are lots of other things that I want to tell them. I was going to make a list of like, here, don't do these things with Enzyme, because it just enabled you to do a lot of bad things. So I was looking at that and I thought, you know what? I could probably just write a little utility around this React DOM.render thing and then just run with that. And I did. Like, this is like 2 weeks before I was giving a workshop at Trulia to like 60 people. I decided to create a new library and teach them to use my brand new library, which I'm glad that worked out. It was like a month later, I went to Front End Masters and did the same thing, and that was recorded and everything. Yeah, I'm really glad that React testing library worked out.
That's great.
Good
That's
for you.
a little last minute there.
Yeah. But I was like convinced that enzyme was harmful, and it was. Now there were some things. I mean, like if you used it in the right way, it was fine. The problem was that it was just so easy to use it in the wrong way, and the documentation and like comments in GitHub all encourage people to write implementation detail focused tests, and that just was not great. So yeah, React testing library is now the most popular and recommended testing library. So that ended up being pretty successful.
Nice job. Getting back to the community too, one thing I'm curious about, do you have what are your next goals with it? Like, what's the next steps for the community that you built as it continues to grow?
Yeah, well, so a few months ago, these aren't next steps, but these are recent steps. I realized that the community was growing beyond KCD. Like, it wasn't just like, here's the place to come talk about Kent and his stuff. And I had my office hours on there. I would do live streams on there. And there were a couple of people who were making a name for themselves within the KCD community. And I thought, like, I should just figure out a way to enable these people to serve the community in the same way that I do. Just because it's the KCD community doesn't mean I'm the only one who can host office hours and stuff. So kind of in the spirit of Clubhouse, I created this thing called Meetups, which is a command that you give to the bot to schedule a meetup. You can list yourself on one of the people that people can follow. And when you schedule a meetup, all your followers will get a notification that you are streaming. And so this could be like anything. It's basically what Clubhouse is, except you also have video and screen sharing capabilities and stuff. But you can talk about baking, or you can talk about politics, or you could talk about coding. It does like whatever goes. And so now we have people who are hosting their own meetups, and they're doing their own office hours and stuff like that. So that's kind of what I've been thinking about for the community, is how can I make this just bigger than myself? Because I think that like my mission is to make the world a better place through quality software. And there are a lot of people who can help me in that mission. I don't have to do all of that by myself. And there are people who are willing and able to do that within the community. So that's kind of where I'm thinking about what I'm thinking about with the community, is how to enable other people to push that mission forward.
Well, let me ask you then, if that's what you're talking about, what does that look like hypothetically, like best case scenario with 3 years, 5 years down the road? What does that look like?
Yeah, it's a little bit tricky to measure, make the world better, right?
I'm just mean hypothetically, like if you had your choice.
Yeah, so I'm mostly interested in like lots of the developers that I am teaching, they're working for a company that's trying to do something useful in the world, at least hopefully. I can't really control that, but I have to go with that assumption. Otherwise I would do nothing, right? So I assume that people are working for companies or building companies themselves that are making the world better. And if I can help them to level up their skills to be able to push their company's mission forward, then that's success in my mind. To take it even a step further, more on a personal level, if I can help people get a pay raise or a promotion or a job in the first place, that also that helps their corner of the world be better for them. And that's also something that I'm thinking about pretty often. And I really enjoy when I hear people telling me, I got a job because of Epic React. That this happens every week or so. Somebody will say something like that. And that is really validating to me, because that's like right on point with my my company's mission.
What do you say on the kind of flipping on the opposite end? Like all being validated is fantastic, but what happens when you reach what do you do when you reach those low points where it's harder for you to like you know get in front of the computer and record something or you know work it all? Like what are some tips and tricks for people?
Yeah, so I have the benefit of being committed to not having deadlines. I don't make deadlines for myself. I don't tell people when something's going to be out. I do have partner companies, in particular Egghead.io. They are my primary partner for most of the things that I do. And we have plans that we make together. And then when we're getting closer to something happening, then we schedule a date. And sometimes we'll share it, sometimes we won't. But I don't really schedule something to be completed until I get really close to that thing being done. And because of that, I can say, hey, this is the plan. This is the next thing that I'm working on, but I don't have to have anything delivered or whatever until like ever, honestly. And so that kind of makes it work. And of course, this is nice just because my business has been financially successful and there's a recurring revenue stream, a passive income stream. That means that when I have those slumps, I can just go hang out with my kids and I don't have to like tell my boss or anything that I'm not working today. So unfortunately, that means that's not exactly relatable to everybody. I know some of you like go to the job and you can't just tell your boss that I'm not feeling it today.
Oh, I'm doing it now.
Yeah. Yeah. So I have had those experiences before, and sometimes it's nice to switch gears and do something else for a little bit. And most employers are totally like they have plenty of work for you to do. You just say, hey, listen, I'm just really struggling with this a little bit. Can I help Jane out with her thing or whatever, just to kind of change pace a little bit. Yeah, that I've done that in the past, and that's worked out pretty well for me.
So when will the Discord bot actually start teaching and replace you?
Yeah.
That's a great question. I'd imagine that's in the future soon.
Yeah,
right?
well, you know what? You'll know when that's going to happen because I'll be tweeting about AI a lot, and I'll be like, I'll make an AI course or something. And by the time that's done, nobody will need to take it because AI will take over the world, and so nobody needs to code.
We just got to find out where Sarah Khan is and make sure she's safe.
Yeah, yeah, that's right.
You know, speaking of your courses, I just wanted to bring up this because I'm sure things like this that you read all the time. And for our audio listeners, thanks for creating React testing library. I'm used to ignoring the test before, and I hate them. I hate writing them. Now things become better thanks to your testing article. Like, I mean, that's some great feedback. So how does that make you feel, and how does that help you become motivated to do more of this?
It makes me feel great. It is super validating. Thank you for saying that, Himdi. I'm not sure if I said your name right. Sorry, Midi. I'm not sure. Sorry. But yeah, it is validating. And at this point, React Testing Library has pretty much won the hearts of most people. There are plenty of people who are still, they like mocking things a lot and they want to use shallow and stuff. And I just like, okay, if that's what you want to do. But yeah, lots of people are really happy with that. I've written a lot of articles about testing. In fact, I'm just going to check right now on my blog for the number of articles that I have with the testing tag. There are 41.
Oh, I was going to guess.
Sorry. Yeah, but we've got. I've written a lot of articles on testing, and yeah, I don't know how I became the testing guy, to be honest. Well, I know how now. Like I could tell you the story, but it was never a plan of mine to be the testing guy. It just kind of happened because I started writing tests. Well, so this is the way that happened is I got into open source. I was like writing a library and I thought it was kind of cool and whatever. But every time I made a change, I'd have to open up this little demo that I had and I'd test everything manually. I was like, what a pain is that? And so this guy at work taught me how to use Mocha. And so I started using Mocha to test my stuff. Automated, and I was like, wow, this is amazing. I have 1,000 little Kents running around making sure everything works. And so I just started testing everything. And when you do something enough, you start developing opinions because of your experience. And just because I naturally share the things that I learn and just share what I think is important, and I share my opinions, I started tweeting about it and writing articles about it, and then I became the testing guy. I made a course about it, and so yeah, it's really nice to hear that my articles and my open source software has helped people out, because that's not the only reason that I create this stuff. The big reason is because I want to remember it, I want to learn it, I want to really understand it. But it's a big reason that I create this stuff is to, to make the world a better place. And I'm hoping that this stuff is going to help people be more productive. And so, yeah, when I hear stuff like that, it makes me feel validated.
And
Absolutely.
anything in testing JavaScript that you look back now and you're like, oh, should have done that different.
Oh yeah, this sort of thing happens all the time. No, like there's not a lot of stuff in testing JavaScript, but like all the time when I have material, my opinions change. Things or new technology comes up, and that's the case for testing JavaScript. Is there's this relatively new software called MSW that allows you to intercept requests, and so instead of having to mock modules and stuff like that, you can actually just MSW will intercept any HTTP request that's made. It's amazing. And when I created I created testing JavaScript in 2018, I think, and then in 2019 I did a relaunch. V2, I just revamped everything, and then a few months after is when MSW was created. And in 2022, I was totally focused on Epic React, but I really wanted to tell people on testing JavaScript about this cool thing, MSW. And so I just recorded a couple of videos to say, hey, everybody, I'm planning on updating testing JavaScript eventually, but I don't want you to have to wait until I get this stuff. So I recorded a couple of videos to show you a couple cool additional things. And I replaced a few things to make some changes. So yeah, things do evolve over time. Most of the time it's coming not out of like, hey, we're going to do things fundamentally different from the way we've done it. Like I haven't made huge changes like that. But it's like, hey, there's this cool new tool that means that you don't have to do all this weird stuff.
Do you ever feel, I mean, I know I personally do, I imagine you do too, overwhelmed by all that actually is available?
Yeah. I don't know. So like, actually, yes. So people will email me all the time and say, hey, look at this cool tool that I built, or most of the time it's something that they built.
Yeah.
That that has been really helpful for me. And lots of the time it's like something very specific for like a specific use case that I don't know anything about, or I don't, I know about, but I don't really have use cases for it or whatever. And so those are pretty easy. I just say, hey, I'm not your target audience. And thanks anyway. But yeah, there's a huge, I get emails and tweets all the time from people saying, hey, check this thing out. And I just like, sorry, I can't check out everything that people tell me about. So you just choose which things you're going to spend your time doing and then move forward.
Well, there's only so much time in a day, and there's so much technology that we could explore, and that's why there's an array of people that, excuse the pun, an array of people that we could depend on and ask them their opinions as well. I wanted to also ask you about the podcast. How's that going? Are you still continuing that?
Yeah, so I am. Eventually, I'm going to start work on season 4. I think I have 3 seasons. Yeah. And yeah, I'm definitely planning on making that a thing again. So the reason that I did the seasonal release thing, where I just released the whole thing all at once, kind of Netflix binge style.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that.
Yeah. So the reason that I do that is I've done a lot of podcasts. I did Angular Air, I did JavaScript Air. I've got this 3-minute podcast I do. There was a React 30 that I did with Michael Jackson and Ryan Florence. It was like 15 episodes, so kind of shorter. But yeah, and then I have a podcast on Epic React, and where I'm the guest, and a podcast where I have guests. And so like I've done this podcasting thing a lot. And one thing that I've learned is that it can become a chore. It just takes a lot of work. I'm sure you two both know. It takes way more work than I ever expected.
A little bit.
Yeah. And especially when you're doing like I did the live thing like you are, and when you want to have a consistent time every week, we do it at this time. Finding guests that can just happen to make it at that time is very difficult. And so yeah, it just became too much, and that's why JavaScript Error kind of fizzled out. And so when I decided, hey, I want to do this podcasting thing, I want to have guests, but I don't want to have to go through like finding guests all the time and stuff. So I'll just do a bunch of episodes, record them all in rapid succession. I'll do like 2 or 3 a week, and then we'll put them all together and just ship them all at once. And then there's no expectation on consistency from me. Nobody, like people will ask me, but they're not expecting something every single week. And so that just reduces the amount of, I don't know, effort. Now I'm doing a daily podcast, but it's 3 minutes long. It takes me like 4 minutes total to do the whole thing. So.
Well, I mean, could you imagine if you had to wait like a week for a new WandaVision to come out? Like, I just want to sit down, watch the whole thing in about 1 day, and that's it. So yeah, I get it.
I just want you to know, Kent, I am expecting podcasts from you.
Yeah. Well,
He is.
you know, I do get that quite a bit. People are like, when's season 4 coming out? And that's fine. I don't feel too pressured by that. But season 4 is going to happen. I have a couple of people in mind that I'm probably going to invite on. But yeah, I don't know why I haven't started. It doesn't actually take a ton of work. Egghead helps me with that a lot.
I mean, you're not doing anything, right?
Yeah.
You're not busy.
It's just fun, right? Like the reason I started podcasting in the first place was I was driving in my car, listening to a podcast, and they would like talk about something, and I would start talking. I would like respond. I'd be like, "No, that's not how it works," or I'd say, "Oh yeah," and then this. Like,
did they respond back?
No, they never. Well, luckily, they never did. Otherwise,
Yeah, you were like talking to the TV.
Yeah, exactly. And so I was like, you know what? I'm just going to start doing this myself. I want to participate in these conversations. So that's why I started podcasting. And then like, I got to talk with amazing people. I started with Angular Air, and I started with the Angular team. That was awesome. When I started JavaScript Air, I started with Brendan Ike. He was my first guest. Like I was able to meet some really awesome people. And the whole thing was just a big excuse for me to be able to talk with some interesting people about interesting things. So it's not really a chore to me. But it does take time. And so, yeah, that's why I just decided let's do seasonal, and then I can just do it whenever I want.
Same with us. We really enjoy just connecting with people. I know my big thing is I always want to like humanize people, because people look at like you, Kent, people look at you and they're like, it's Kent. and I'm like, Kent has 4 kids. He just ate lasagna last night.
Our big thing is really to get to know people. Like Brian said, people put people on these weird pedestals, etc. But what actually drives you to do these things? And it's great talking to you and getting some of that. And like you said, getting the opportunities to talk to some of the more interesting people, which is presently something that we're all participating in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's kind of fun.
Yeah.
Well, Frederick, do you have any further questions, or would you like to move to the lightning round?
I think the lightning round, Brian. I would like to do that.
Okay. I'll be honest. When I saw this, I was like, "Oh no, I'm really bad at lightning." I just ramble a lot. I just talk a lot. So
get ready to ramble, Kent. Ramble time. Lightning round rambling.
Okay. Call it ramble time. Yeah. So I'll ask the question first, and Frederick, and we just go back and forth. Cool. My first question would be, where do you mind not waiting?
Where do I mind not waiting?
Yeah.
Oh, so like, where do I mind just like hanging out, or?
Yeah, you're in line somewhere.
And I'm just like, I'm cool with it.
Yeah.
Yes.
I don't know. I hate waiting.
That works.
That's a fair answer.
There's nowhere that I don't mind not waiting.
Okay. Fred?
That's a fine answer. Kent, let me ask you a serious question. What do you find to be your most favorite quality about yourself?
Ooh, this is the sort of question that I would ask my kids, it's for like to make them feel good about themselves. I feel like we don't love ourselves enough. So yeah, that's a great question. I am a very driven person. I'm I get really committed to things, and I like that about myself.
Good. Nice.
Love it.
So, okay, imagine this. You're in the circus, Kent.
Okay.
Would you rather be the person with their head in the lion's mouth or shot out of a cannon?
Shot out of a cannon for sure.
Okay.
That sounds awesome. That would be so fun.
Kent, if you could not be around a computer ever again for some hypothetical circumstance, what would you do professionally?
I would write a book, a fantasy novel. That's what I would
Fantasy
do.
novel.
That would be
Nice.
really hard to do without a computer, though.
It is possible. There are typewriters.
Yep. That's what I would do.
Okay, you go on a trip. Your plane crashes, a Castaway style with Wilson and everything. You hit your head. You wake up. Somehow you made it back to land. You only have one technical skill that you still have. What is that technical skill?
Shoot. With all of my skills that I have right now, I would still die. So it doesn't make a difference what I choose.
Oh, you made it back to land.
So like I survived.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
One technical skill. Typing.
There you go. That is a technical
All right.
skill. Kent, imagine this. You come home. Nobody's there. It is late. It's like 2:30 in the morning. It's raining, pouring. You open the door. You see a ghost. What do you do?
Invite them in, I guess.
No, they're in the house.
Yeah, sure. I mean, they're gonna come in anyway, so may as well act friendly.
Kent's just like,
There you go. Would you like some tea? Come on in.
Yeah.
What chore do you absolutely hate doing?
Cleaning toilets, like cleaning the bathroom. I hate that.
Nice. All right. Kent, what are you listening to for fun right now? Are you listening to any certain kind of podcast or something such as that?
Yes, I am always listening to a podcast. One thing that people know about me is I listen at 3x. That's how fast. So here I'm listening right now to Soft Skills Engineering, and this is
Probably just documentation where there too. It feels like they, for whatever reason, chaotic requirements can happen. So if you just say, oh, our docs are bad, then have a 30 secret, which is that sometimes answer.
so I listen to a lot of podcasts at very fast speeds, and Soft Skills Engineering is a favorite. I've got I listen to a lot of Tesla stuff. So I've got Tesla Daily and Ride the Lightning, the Tesla unofficial podcast. I love Darknet Diaries. I listen to a lot of books. So I like Brandon Sanderson. I'm a big fan. And like some self-help books and stuff like that. I'm a listener of Syntax and Planet Money.
Syntax.
Yeah, so I listen to podcasts a lot. Writing Excuses is a writing podcast I listen to. And then when I'm coding, it doesn't matter what it is, and it can have lyrics or not. It doesn't matter. I don't even realize it. Sometimes I'll realize that it's really dirty or something, like, oh shoot, gotta skip that, because like I just am not paying attention. But I do need something when I'm coding.
Gotcha. Some music.
Yeah.
It's funny you mentioned that. I heard just the other day, Dave Rupert on Shop Talk. He was talking about how all he does with podcasts is listen to them at 2x, etc. And I couldn't imagine going back to listening to them at like just regular speed.
It's so boring.
I think a lot of us do that. We just rush through. I want to get the info.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
you know, like our brains are really capable. People who are blind are able to listen to it at like 6x or more. So like, I mean, lots of that is because the parts of their brain that are processing vision have been retrained and stuff. But our brains are amazing. And I worked up over years to get to 3x. But it means that I have to be very focused. I either am just sitting there listening to it, or I'm doing dishes or driving or something that like I can just put on autopilot. Sometimes literally, and so I can listen. Otherwise, I'll miss stuff.
Yeah,
Just not cleaning the toilet. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I definitely watched your videos too at 2x because I'm like, move faster, Kent.
Yeah,
Move
yeah,
faster.
you know what? That's impressive because Egghead added the ability to slow down videos because of me.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, yeah, there were a lot of
Whoa.
people who were like, "I need Kent, but slower," and I still get that.
I like
So,
that.
I talk
awesome.
fast. I don't like wasting people's time, and I don't like my time being wasted either.
Would you rather be able to copy and paste in real life or undo?
Oh, I find myself trying to do Command F in real life, like finding a lot. Undo for sure. That one's actually pretty easy. I make mistakes all the time.
Ken, what advice would you give somebody that is just getting into JavaScript development? What would be the first place you would point them to?
Sorry, I'm thinking about that last one. I'm going to change my answer. To copy
Please
paste.
do. Go
You
for
know
it.
what? Like I was just thinking, if you undo every mistake you make, like you never really learn anything, and sometimes you don't realize that the thing you did was a mistake until later. So yeah, like I wouldn't want to mess with time.
So wait, you're undoing your answer now.
I am. I'm undoing my answer.
You realize the thick layer of irony here, right?
Well, I can't do that, I guess. I just gave that ability away. Yeah. Okay. So you wanted advice for somebody just getting into programming?
Yes, exactly. Somebody's just getting into programming. Where do you point them? Say they have aspirations to learn JavaScript. What is the first place you point them to? You know what? So and so, you should go here and start looking, reading, consuming.
Yeah. That one's actually really tough. I have made my living building or creating material for experienced developers. I don't teach brand new developers a whole lot. People need, I have assumptions that you have knowledge. And so because I haven't created anything, I also haven't gone through anything. Like my mechanism for learning this stuff was just playing around with things a lot. And so I don't know if I can recommend that path, if there's maybe something out there that's better, like a more guided journey. But like I hear great things about Wes Boss. His JavaScript 30 is good, but I think that kind of expects that you have some experience a little bit. Friend and Masters, I think, has some intro stuff. That'd probably be a good place to start.
Oh, yeah, we'll add that in the show notes. That's a great one.
What do you miss most about being a kid?
When I was in 5th grade, I was homeschooled, and I would wake up at 5 a.m, and my mom would have a checklist. Actually, something like this. This is what I do this now. And she would just all of my homework assignments for the day, I would get them all done by 9, and then I have the whole day to myself to do whatever I wanted. I miss that. Now I sort of have that, but like now I have a wife and 4 kids I need to look after. When I was a kid, it was just like I do whatever I want, and nobody relies on me. I kind of miss that.
Your mom's awesome.
Yeah, that was awesome. I really loved that year. It was actually a transformative year. That's like where I got my drive and my productivity. Just like I have a checklist, I just get it done, and then I can do what I want.
Love that. Brian, do you have anything else?
I have 2 more. One, I just want to know, like in the 11, so you're 12.
I'm number 11 of 12. Yeah,
you're 11 of 12. Yeah, I wanted to know I was curious where you're at in that. And why was the JavaScript developer sad?
Oh
God.
Because undefined wasn't a function, I guess.
I like that. Because he didn't know how to express himself.
That's great.
Brian's joke of the week.
That's actually pretty good. Those punny jokes. In Epic React, people will find that every like 5 or 6 videos, I have a break, and it's just a break video. It's like 2 minutes long of me saying, "Hey, let's just take a quick break," and I show them a icanhasdadjoke.com, and we just look at random dad jokes, like 3 or 4 of those. Cody the koala bear also joins us, and like,
oh my god, that's awesome.
It's great.
I love that. Well, Kent, we're at the end of the show, and I just want to make sure that we're telling people where to go to find more information about you. Obviously, your website, which is Kent C. Dodds, 2 Ds and S.com. You're also on the YouTubes. You provided a URL of kcdim/YouTube. You have the Twitters. You are at Kent C. Dodds on the Twitters. And GitHub /Kent C. Dodds. I imagine everywhere that anyone would look, if they go to the Kent C. Dodds pattern, they would discover you. Is that
Normally
correct?
that's the case. I don't think there's any exceptions so far.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
And
And the last thing I love to ask the guest is, do you have any final words of advice for our audience?
So my father-in-law likes to say, likes to ask, "Hey Kent, is it more important to be a hard worker or to be smart?" And he says it's more important to be a hard worker. And is it more important to be a hard worker or to be nice? And it's more important to be nice. And so it doesn't matter how smart you are or how hard a worker you are. If you're not nice, then you're missing out on a lot that the world has to offer. And the world is missing out on a lot that you have to offer as well. So that would be my parting words of advice. Be a little introspective and think about how you can make yourself a little more nice.
I like that.
I love that.
Yeah. Thank you so much for spending, your evening with us. Time, I always say, is the most valuable thing we have, and for you to spend a little with us is great. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you. I appreciate you giving me some of your time, and the audience as well.
Yeah, thank you so much, Ken. And thanks everybody again for watching the show. Really appreciate it. We'll catch you next time. Thank you so much, Kent.
See ya.